Hello, everybody. I am Karla Italiano, and I am so excited, completely honored, and just thrilled to have on with me as a guest Dr. Paul Arciero. And Dr. Paul I know him through his work with Isagenix because that's a part of my career path, but that's only a new recent addition to his expertise and his truly successful career over many, many years. So, Dr. Paul, welcome. And if it's okay, I'd like to kick off with a few edifications of you so people know who you are.
Sure. You don't have to do too many.
Yes, well, I think it's important because, and I'll share my personal experience as well, but I want you all to realize this is a nutrition expert. Like Dr. Paul, we're going to talk about how protein can impact our health goals, because this is the time of year we're all talking about this. And this is not a trendy thing. In fact, we're going to discuss that, how this is just the opposite. This is based on science and true evidence, because I'm talking with a lot of people right now. What are your health goals in the new year? Whenever they say, I say, what's your goal to get there? And everyone has different ideas. So we're going to cut through all that, cut to the chase. What's proven? What does the science show? And Dr. Paul knows. But he has studied as a master's of science in nutrition from the University of Vermont School of Medicine, Nutritional Sciences, master's of science in exercise physiology, a doctorate in exercise physiology, a postdoctorate fellowship in applied physiology from Washington University of Medicine. He is well studied. He's well published. He has over 60 peer-reviewed published scientific articles. He's been on every major network. Literally this page is here. But I think it's important to note this is a guy who knows this stuff. And he also lives a very fulfilling life. He lives the optimal performance life, which is what he promotes, what we're going to talk about today. He is a European tennis champion. He is a former top-ranked NCAA tennis player, right? He's a head tennis coach. He's been gold and silver medalist in Empire State Games, triathlete, race winners. He is living his life in optimal performance. So Dr. Arciero, I am so excited to get to hear all your wealth of knowledge and to share. And of course, we are celebrating today the launch of your brand new book, The Prize Life. So congratulations on your new book.
Thank you, Karla. This is such a treat to be on with you. I don't know if you don't mind to share our first encounter. We were just coming back from an event, and forgive me, I can't remember exactly where it was. If I stressed my mind enough, I would remember. But we were in an airport, yes, and we just started talking, and we had both recognized that we were at the event, and it was just such a blessing for me. You got to meet my family. And so it was really a cool encounter that has remained in both of our lives. And so this is such an honor. I love doing what I do because of this, the relationships that I make as I travel the world and I meet these wonderful people that are on the same mission as I am in spreading this message of optimal health and performance. So thank you so much for having me. And actually, as you were talking, I was removing my earpiece to make sure I was listening to, the right things that you were saying about this guy. No, my road is probably no different than a lot of people's, and it was a very tumultuous road, and a roller coaster at the beginning. So to be where I am today, I'm really blessed and I'm grateful. So thanks for having me.
That's fantastic. It's been always amazing to watch you speak on stage. I've learned so much from you at those events. I remember, I'm not sure exactly which airport that was. I do have that picture. I found it today. I might post it in the comments later. It might have been coming back from Banff, because I remember hearing you at Top Achievers speak, and your family was there, yes, and you were hiking and enjoying the ideal life, ideal performance. If we could start there, actually, I'd love for you to explain your idea of ideal wellness and this idea of optimal performance. And for some people that might be weight loss, that might be energy gain. But I remember you sharing from stage at that event, that idea of, optimal performance might not necessarily mean that level of elite performance like you experienced, but it's a way of living your life that everyone can achieve, right? Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. I think so many people have this actually false picture of thinking that ideal optimal performance is only for those individuals that have been gifted with this, beautiful looking body and ability to perform, exercise or sport and athletics at the highest level. And that's just simply not true. We all have the capacity, and we all have the right to live an optimal health life. And that can mean different things. And so I use that, those examples of just being able to, for example, go to the beach with your children or your grandchildren or even your great grandchildren, and be able to walk the beach and pick up shells and maybe toss a frisbee or play kadima or something like that. That's optimal living. It's about getting up and rising up, and in many ways playing like a kid again. For me, that's the definition of optimal health. Yes, do I consult with world-class, athletes and champions? Yes, and I have, and I continue to do that. But that's not the only representation of optimal health. And so I want everyone to know, regardless of what your age is, what your health status, what your fitness level is, you have it within you. And I know that to be true because I've seen it happen, to live a life of optimal health, whatever that might be for you. So yeah, I think that's a really great starting point to let people know that I'm not just referring to the world-class top level, athlete. It's everybody. My mother, I give this example, she's 86 years old and she's got 25 grandchildren, 7 children, 25 grandchildren, and then 6 great grandchildren. And, for me to watch her playing with her great grandchildren is truly watching optimal health in life, even for an 86-year-old person. So yeah, I really enjoy that. Yeah, thank you.
No, and I appreciate you brought in about your family. And I know from reading the first chapter of the book, you credit many people in your family as influencing your own life journey and moving on. I appreciate you sharing that, both the challenges and the good. We've all faced that in what we've received. So also kind of a big picture question for people who learn what you share, we're going to talk about today, and that's in the book, who decide to follow a prize lifestyle, as you put it, and a protein pacing lifestyle. What do you believe their legacy is going to be to their family long term when they live within these principles?
Oh gosh, that is so powerful. Being a role model, of course, is so important. We all strive for that. But to me, it's all about living a life of significance, not necessarily focusing only on success, right? Because we know that even people that we define as being successful, either because they've achieved a certain level of financial success or notoriety, they're a well-known entertainer or an athlete or anybody that has reached that level of success. The interesting irony is that they're not immune to many of the other health conditions, whether it's mental health issues, whether it's physical health issues, so that success shouldn't be our defining legacy that we are always focused on. It should be significance. And so what I really want to help people and nurture in people as a scientist, I really refer to myself as a nurturing scientist, is that I want to nurture people to living a life of optimal health, so that they can give to other people, right? Because it's ultimately in the service and the giving of what we give to other people that provides many people their true meaning and purpose, but it also develops significance. And so I just want to let you and everyone else know, and I know, you and I know each other and we know what we stand for, but it's really about letting people know that regardless of their level of success, that's not necessarily what's important. It's that they are significant. And so that's what I feel is the legacy that we can all leave is that level of significance that we have impacted the world with. And that usually is a result of us having given back and helping others and serving others. So if you are living a life like the prize life, you will have within you the ability to help other people and serve other people and build that level of significance that's so important. So that's how I would define it.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that perspective. Amazing. So let's dive in a little more detail now, because I know what's on the front of so many people's mind right now, especially being the beginning of the year, is achieving their health goals. And I've been in conversations lately with friends and acquaintances and colleagues. What is your goal for the year? And usually it's a health goal, and it might be to gain weight, lose weight, whatever. And then I ask, how do you plan to achieve that? And actually, I've been impressed. A lot of times the answer has something to do with protein. However, the answers are very different. I talked with one person, for example, she said her plan to lose 10 pounds was to cut back on protein and vegetables. Not sure what plan that is. Another person was planning to increase their protein, but did not have clarity on what about. And actually, another friend asked her medical doctor about starting our program without him looking at any of it, not knowing the amounts of proteins or anything. His advice to her was not to, because it would be too much protein. Again, not even looking at the amount. So it seems like everyone has this idea of what the proper amount of protein should be to achieve their results. I know that protein is just a piece of the picture in the prize lifestyle, but what is the ideal amount of protein that we should be getting?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. And the way that you started off asking the question, I thought was really great. Do you know that more than 75% of the adult population in America sets a New Year's resolution? Only 8% are successful. So, when I hear a statistic like that, it's on everybody. It's closer to 80% that have these New Year's resolutions, but only 8, single digit 8, actually carry through and fulfill. So we're falling obviously very short in accomplishing that goal. And I think it's because there's so much misinformation around everything related to a healthy lifestyle. And let's just stay focused on your part of the equation of a healthy lifestyle, and that's nutrition. So I'm really starting from the standpoint of what has held the test of time. So I've been in this field for over 30 years. So I've kind of seen things come and go, right? When I first started off 30 years ago in the 80s, the ketogenic diet was very, very popular. And then of course it waned out and it disappeared. And now, it's come back, full swing, but now we're starting to see it taper down again. And so what I've focused on is what has been around consistently, year after year, century after century, of what has contributed to our greatest level of health. And while I call it protein pacing, it is absolutely, definitely not a high protein diet, just the opposite, but it's the right amount of protein at the right time and the right quality. Those are the 3 defining features of protein pacing. And so like you described, it can come from both high quality animal-based protein sources and high quality plant-based protein sources. So the combination is wonderful. If people want to choose more of one than the other, they can do that. But I think that it's important that they establish. So what are the ground rules of protein pacing? Number 1, it should be making sure that you have nourished your body within an hour of waking in the morning with a high quality source of protein. And it should be somewhere between 20 and 40 grams. And I did a Facebook Live the other night that the viewers can also check out on my Facebook page, The Prize Life, so they can see that there. But I talked very specifically about making it personal to the person. But in general, it should be somewhere between 20 and 40 grams. If it's a younger teenager, adolescent, it can be somewhere between 12 to 18 grams. So sometimes we have them target 15 grams per serving, but something in the morning that at least begins to transition their body from a state of breaking down their healthy muscle protein in their body to now transitioning into helping support their healthy lean muscle mass. But also our brain. We often forget that our brain is a massive consumer of protein. So to neglect your brain of those healthy levels of protein and amino acids is just not very healthy for us. And then to make sure that you're continuing throughout the day, every 3.5, 4 hours, in helping replenish and resupply the amount of that protein that our body needs, both for our muscles, our organs, our cells, and then of course our brain. And then the final determining factor of protein pacing is having a very healthy source or feeding of protein within 2 hours of going to sleep at night. So those are kind of the main components. And again, it's not high protein. In the live that I did the other night, I break it down that it should be somewhere between, on a per body weight basis in pounds, it should be between 0.7 and 0.85 is the factor of grams that you should be multiplying your body weight by. So for example, if somebody weighed 150 pounds, they would multiply 150 pounds times 0.7 or 0.85 or somewhere in between there, depending upon their needs. And that comes to about 102 to 128 grams of protein. And that's definitely not anywhere near high protein. It's about 20 25 to 30% of your overall intake of calories.
That's really fascinating, especially because, I feel like one of the benefits that I've experienced from Isagenix is having this platform before even realizing or understanding protein pacing, this opportunity to have a quantity of protein throughout my day, unlike the typical lifestyle where we have perhaps high carb, low protein in the morning, and then we load up our protein at night. What you're saying is that let's have high protein in the morning and night and spaced out in between.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be every, 2 hours like some people used to think we'd have to eat, but it can be 3.5, 4 hours. But yeah, that early morning feeding is critical. I call it the morning muscle maximizer. So it really just helps our muscles transition from being broken down after having not eaten at night to now replenishing and rebuilding. And that includes the brain, and then to continue to do it throughout the day. And then right before we go to sleep, where we won't be eating for 8 to 10 hours or so, to make sure that you're getting in another really healthy serving of that high quality protein. And again, it comes out to about 80 to 120 calories of protein, which is not a lot.
That's amazing. So when you've studied this in the lab, do you compare it to people who are not following protein pacing? And what's the difference that people experience when they follow this protein pacing?
Karla, that's a great question. Yes, I have. I've done it in all different types of settings. So I've actually done it in very controlled settings where I've put a lockdown on people exercising so that I could rule out any influence that exercise might have on these results. And so what I do, I actually compare people that follow a protein pacing eating strategy versus a more traditional, higher carbohydrate, higher unhealthy fat type of a diet that most typical Americans are eating. We call it the standard American diet, the SAD diet, right? You've probably all heard that. So, the SAD diet is what most of us eat, but when we compare the SAD diet to the protein pacing diet, the results are very, very vastly different. So for example, protein pacing targets we used to think, hey, you can't spot reduce. And we now know that through certain lifestyle strategies, you actually can target certain areas. And so with at least protein pacing, there's scientific evidence to show very, very convincingly that yes, indeed, you do lose more abdominal body fat, visceral fat. That's the fat around your vital organs that's so implicated and detrimental to our health. You sustain a higher level of your healthy lean muscle mass. Your cardiovascular profile improves. So your cholesterol comes down, your bad cholesterol, your LDL comes down, your HDLs can stay the same, in some cases even go up. Triglycerides go down. Insulin, which is the hormone that stores sugar in our cells, that we don't want to have at really high levels because it actually increases the storage of glucose in our cells that then turns on forming new fat in our body. And so that's unhealthy. And so insulin also comes down. So there's so many favorable changes. And I have some new data to share in this coming year through some of the research that I've done that I haven't published yet, but will be going submitted for publication, showing that protein pacing also favorably impacts our mood state. So there's a connection in the brain when we have that consistent, high quality level of protein that our brain can thrive on. So yeah, there's big differences. And then when we add exercise into the equation, which is what the RISE stands for, and I love that because if you take the P away for the protein, you've got rise, so it helps you rise. But exercise even makes it super additive, the protein pacing. So yeah, there's a lot of real benefit to it.
That's awesome. Before we move off of protein pacing, perhaps what the other letters are, remember, well, two things. First of all, you just listed a lot of things that are not associated with weight loss, which is amazing because most of the people are looking at weight loss, but even people who don't can experience that entire list of things that you just mentioned. Are there other things specifically that someone not looking for weight loss will experience with the protein pacing protocol?
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. So in addition to the healthy changes in their body composition, you're right, independent of weight loss, you can just have a more favorable change in your body composition. Your cardiovascular health will improve, your metabolic health will improve, your levels of what we call oxidative stress, cellular stress that we have in our body actually minimizes, and your defense system, we call it the antioxidant defense system, actually goes up. And that's really healthy for us because that's protecting our cells from damage. So yeah, there's so many favorable changes, but those are more internal and things that many people can't see and relate to, other than their body composition, of course. But the other ones that I find so compelling and so powerful and so exciting, for me anyway, is that when we protein pace, we can also increase our physical performance measures. So there are things that we can measure in the laboratory that are specifically related to a person's physical health. Like we were talking about at the beginning of this, that, physical performance and optimal health is related to just being able to go out and live life now, instead of sitting on the sidelines and only spectating or observing. Now we can be an active participant, and that's enjoyable, that's fulfilling, that's meaningful, and that's creating significance for people. So I can talk more about those, but they actually do go really well with the other components of the protein pacing. But yeah, there's so many other side benefits, and the mood state changes that are so favorable. So protein pacing in and of itself is powerful, it's potent, it's real, it's scientifically proven. And people of all ages, of all sex, men and women experience this, and all fitness levels. So yeah, it's the real deal. And I'm always so excited to be able to share it with people, because it works and it has held the test of time. And that's what gets me most excited.
Yeah, well, in the book, you refer to it as that magic something. The magic something that I call protein pacing, that allows you to be the best that you can be. And I think from all that you've described it to be, it's definitely that. And as you pointed out, like, the protein pacing is just the letter P out of the word prize. And also in the book, you described prize, the protocol, the entire thing, as a comprehensive, holistic, and integrative lifestyle of nutrition, fitness, and mind-brain health strategies. Could you tell us a little bit more about prize overall?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we focus on, because the letter P is the protein pacing, but the other really important nutritional component is intermittent nutritional fasting. I'm a huge proponent of that, just because it's got so many proven benefits. And I know it's kind of been thrust into the public scene over the last couple of years as something new, but it's been around for a long time. And certain companies, one that you've mentioned, Isagenix, has been practicing it for almost 2 decades with great success. So I do talk about intermittent nutritional fasting. It's not like what most people think about with fasting, of just going on a complete water fast, and that's not always healthy for us. In fact, most cases it's not healthy for us at all. So when you do fast, you want to nourish your body with healthy plant chemicals, adaptogens, and antioxidants. And so I talk about that in great detail, because that's a huge component of the protein pacing. But the other areas are the physical movement experience that we engage in, that plays such a critical role in our overall health. And so the RISE, which also spells rise, which is why I love this acronym, and I could go into great detail how I came up with this name. But yeah, it just was, gosh, it was a total epiphany when it came to me. But these stand for the different types of movement that we know have held the test of time for decades, in many cases, some of these for centuries, of what we've seen the most healthy populations engaging in a regular basis. But it stands for resistance functional exercise. So anything that we are doing on a daily basis that's creating tension and force that our muscles have to overcome. I mean, just think about the things of daily living that we have to do: standing up from a chair, being able to pull ourselves up if we ever happen to fall. So these are just really basic human movements of survival that I think are so important. Standing up, like I said, pulling yourself up, walking, and things like that. So resistance functional training is hugely important. The I stands for intervals, high intensity intervals. We hear a lot about HIIT training and sit training. And what I find so fascinating is that, if you were to ask a typical person off the street if they need to engage in interval exercise, they would say, oh, no, that's for only the people that are really, fitness fanatics or extreme athletes. And actually, nothing could be further from the truth, because we're finding that when we have people that have just had heart attacks, or who have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or diabetes, or some other debilitating health condition, when we actually expose them to an interval training exercise routine, their progress and health improves drastically. So this is for everybody, not just the most fit people. And then the one that I love, because I'm certified in 2 different forms of yoga, is the stretching. I just feel that if there's one movement experience that we oftentimes neglect, or kind of, put as an add-on or an afterthought to an exercise routine, or before we do these kind of token stretches, is stretching. And we need to take time to do a specific soul fit, stretching routine at least one day a week. And so stretching is the next one, because we need to not only make our muscles flexible, we also need to make our joints mobile. So that mobility and flexibility is really important. And then the form of exercise that most people relate to is the endurance or the aerobic cardiovascular exercise. And that's really, really important. What I love about this one is I tie it very closely with the mind-body health. And here's why. Performing endurance exercise, what we also call aerobic cardiovascular exercise, outside in nature, removed from technology or this connection that we have to some form of technology, is so important. We call it the nature pill. And so what we're finding with research is that when people can even just go out for a walk in the woods for 5-10 minutes during the day, it has enormous health benefit. So I love the endurance because it allows us to capture and nourish that aspect of our overall fully integrated, health by improving our mind-body health. And that's really the main benefit of endurance exercise.
Well, that's incredible. And what I think is fascinating about that I've heard you share before, is what you're recommending is actually that everyone participate in each of those activities regularly, right? So, typically we think of a bodybuilder who's in the gym doing resistance only, or we think of a runner who's doing running with endurance only, or somebody who's really into yoga doing that only. But what you're proposing is those athletes could actually improve their overall performance if they mix up their workouts.
Karla, 100%. And I love the way you just framed it, because the old days where we used to silo athletes, if it's a bodybuilder or a strength athlete, that are a strength athlete, or if they're a marathon runner, they're an endurance athlete, or if they do yoga, they're in yoga, or if they're a hockey player or basketball player, they're a sprint athlete. And that has been completely torn down in terms of that thought process and philosophy. And here's why. We know that all of the most successful athletes do all 4 of these exercise routines. To think a marathon runner doesn't go to a track and run sprints is just silly. That's an important component of their training. To think a marathon runner doesn't go into a yoga studio or some room and do stretching for extended periods of time is just it doesn't happen. So athletes don't live in those silos. So why should we? So I'm always, because I've worked with so many athletes at the highest level and other really top level performers. And when you watch them, they are fully integrating all 4 of these movement experiences into their daily routine on a consistent basis. Now, they might not be doing each one of these every day, and that's what I don't recommend. I recommend that in terms of the efficiency, do resistance training 1 day a week, do the intervals 1 day a week, do the stretching 1 day a week, and endurance 1 day a week. So 4 days is all you need. And that helps people, remove a lot of the stress that they feel in thinking that they need to do 5 or 6 days of really intense, exhaustive exercise every day. And there's no scientific support to that. In fact, if you look at the top elite performers in the world, they have many days where they take for total recovery and recuperation. And here's why. The single most defining characteristic of the most successful people in the world is their ability to be resilient. And we know that when we have resilience, we know that we have energy stores, we have the ability to respond favorably to adversity. And we wouldn't have that if we were constantly exhausting ourselves 5, 6, 7 days a week through an exercise program that left us exhausted. So, this routine is designed just for that. But I just want to harp on it maybe just a little bit, that when you follow these athletes, they are absolutely doing these. Now, there are some cases, of course, where athletes need to participate in their event. If they're a marathon runner, they need to train endurance for 3, 4 days, 5 days a week, but they're also cutting back on some of those days, or on even a full day itself, and do just sprints or do just stretching, or they'll use that 1 day or 2 days to do some resistance training. So they're all doing it. They're very mode in terms of their approach, and we need to start doing that for the general population. And this is where I think we've been misguided. Most of these fitness routines that are out there right now that are coming to the top are really holding most people hostage into thinking that they need to, get on a bicycle or get into a gym and work themselves to exhaustion day after day. And that's just not healthy and not a recipe for long-term success.
Right. That is so insightful. And I love how you paired that with the nutrition side, with the protein pacing, as well as intermittent fasting, which is definitely a part of the Isagenix lifestyle. I just did a cleanse day yesterday, combined with that variety. And like you were just alluding to, this impression that we have to work out so hard, work out more, eat less to get the results. That's the message. And for me, not even knowing the science before, simply following the systems taught from Isagenix and through the years bearing up my workouts, I have found I've been able to eat more and work out less and have better results. And people think I'm crazy, but what you're saying is that the science actually supports that.
100%. Yes. I love to hear that. Yeah, you're a living example of it, but that's exactly what we're saying. And it gives people back more time. It gives them more energy to invest in the other things that they can do in life. So.
Yeah, so it's been a 12 years and counting experience for me following the Isagenix, and just having the scientific support and edification from people like you who are so well versed and esteemed and researched is so encouraging. So it's so great. Who would you say is your ideal customer of the book? Like, who's going to read the book? Who are you hoping picks up the book, and what are you expecting and hoping them to get out of it?
Well, that's a great question, and I've given a lot of thought to that. So, right now we have less than 20% of the US population exercising and eating according to the recommendations to result in favorable health benefit. And that's being observed and seen in the increase in disease that we're all experiencing. So we just don't have enough people who are following healthy lifestyle recommendations to allow them to get results that will provide them better health, better physical, optimal performance. So I'm really targeting 80% of the population with this prize life. I want to make sure that instead of only having less than 20% who are exercising and eating, some of which who might not be doing it right, but at least they're doing something, I want to target the 80% of the population that's trying to figure out and make sense of all of this misinformation overload, what they should be doing to provide them the greatest opportunity for success with their health. So it's men and women. It's even younger individuals. It spans the age range, but there's benefit even to athletes that are in need of proper education around nutrition and even exercise, because again, we have so much mismessaging about the different types of exercise we should be doing. So, but the primary target is going to be the 80% of the population that is wondering or trying to guess or figure out amongst all this information that's out there, what type of healthy lifestyle program should I be following to result in the greatest opportunity for health improvement and physical performance improvement, and one that I can sustain long term? What will fit into my lifestyle the easiest, with the least amount of effort, with the greatest payoff? And that's who I'm really writing this book for. So it's 30 plus years of scientific research and distilling out what has been around the longest, but do it in a way that's the easiest to follow. And one last thing, Karla, I think you already know this, but the app that I have out, the Prize Life app, which is right here, is free to download both on Apple. Oh, awesome.
I have it too.
Oh, yes. Awesome. So it's free on Apple, the App Store, and Google Play. So the app accompanies the book. So that's the best way to help people get started.
That's awesome. I so appreciate the clarity that you've helped bring to people who are perhaps confused by all the different methods out there, and knowing that there's just a simple solution that, like you said, is not only going to get results, but it's going to sustain, it's going to last long, it's going to be a lifestyle. Because as we start at the beginning of our conversation, it's about giving to others and the legacy that we're leaving to our family and setting that example for other people to live their best life as well.
Absolutely. And, I just want people, there's hope. I tell this story that my start to life was really challenging because I was asked to be held back in first grade, again in fifth grade. So I was not a good student. And, for me, it was about finding other ways to find self-worth and significance. So I turned to this physical world, but then most importantly, I found this emotional kind of spiritual world that I had. And that really resonated with me. And to me, that was what was providing me meaning and purpose in life. And so, it was not until I kind of started to live it and share it with other people that became my driving force, my main mission. And like you said, that's what it's all about, is helping other people in our journey through this life that provides us the most significance and the most meaning and purpose. So I love what you're doing, Karla. I'm so grateful that we had a chance to meet 2-3 years ago, and we've continued on with this friendship. And anytime that I can help you and your teams, I'm always here. So thank you again for having me on.
Oh, I so appreciate it. This is amazing information. So everybody watching, the link to go get the book is in this post. So check out that link. It is also on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And the app is free. Anywhere else you'd recommend they go if they're ready to get the book and get started with the system?
Well, I'm going to become more active on my social media. I've been a scientist, and so I haven't really built that area, but I'm available on Instagram under Prize Life. Facebook, of course, is Prize Life, and then Twitter. I'll also be very active with my Prize Life, and I'll be having tips. We'll be creating a Facebook group for the Prize Life. So keep a lookout for that as well. And I'll continue to do my research. And so you'll be able to continue to benefit from the scientific research that I continue to publish, and having opportunities like this as well. So this has been fantastic. Oh, and then of course, be on the lookout for the other 4 books coming out in 2020. So we have a playbook, which I'm so excited about, Karla. I don't know if you heard much about this, but in March, it'll be the Prize Life Playbook, 30-day playbook. So for 30 days, I'll be providing people exactly what they need to eat over the course of the 30 days, every day, and the exercise routines that they need to do. So it'll be me holding your hand, essentially, or your private coach for 30 days. So I'm super excited about the playbook. And then a month after the playbook comes out, we'll be coming out with the Prize Life cookbook. So I'm working with 2 amazing chefs, and we're coming up with a whole series of recipes for breakfast, snacks, lunch, and dinner for people to maximize their results. And then the last 2 books will be a handbook that will be something that you can carry in your purse or your knapsack. And then the final book will be a Train the Trainer. So 2020 will be busy, but I'm excited about being able to provide all of these tools for all of you to help succeed and grow your teams.
That's so exciting. I'm really looking forward to your entire series. I think this book, as well as the series, it obviously integrates well into Isagenix, but it's for everyone. It's for everyone. Everyone eats. And so you want to have a guideline to have the best source, the best quantity, and the best timing of the protein that fits your goals. So I encourage everyone to go get the book. Dr. Paul, it was amazing having you on today. Thank you so much. And we look forward to collaborating some more in the future.
Thank you so much, Karla. See you, everyone.